I'm going to go ahead and start our recording. Hello, my friends. I'm going to turn on my camera for just a second because my camera and I have not been getting along. So hello. I hope you guys are doing well. I'm going to turn it back off so I don't make my computer entirely too angry. But today we go from research, which was very important for us to study, to diving into the actual meat of psychology. We're going to actually start talking about some of the approaches. This week is dedicated to the approaches. Thank you. Thank you, Jasmine. Yes, this is kind of the fun part, I think, of psychology. And when I think people think of psychology, they sort of think about the actual treatment and diagnosis. But before we do, I'm going to take just a second, and in the bottom left-hand corner is an image that I'm just going to take a moment to talk about. I'm not going to open it up for you as it's everything. But if you can't see it, let's make it bigger. But basically, it's your student expectations. Oh no, not again! Sorry, guys. Is that any better? Awesome. Okay. Caleb, apparently just me becoming a robot. So basically, I'm sure you've gone over this with other teachers and you're probably like, oh gosh, not again. But just so I can say I did, keep in mind that you're expected to attend and participate in required live class sessions. Someone asked me how we know the difference. For right now, through the rest of August, all class sessions are required sessions. Once we get past September, then, or once we get into September, that will begin to change. And once I know how you know, I will tell you how to know. Please complete all assignments independently without assistance. What that means is not that you can't ask your teacher for help or something like that. It just means please don't copy and don't, go to the internet and copy and paste things. Work on it yourself. Complete assessments, same way, please, study for them and then take the tests. Of course, if you have questions, guys, never hesitate to reach out to me to get assistance on assignments, assessments, you name it. I'm happy to help. And then please read and respond to communications in 24 hours, check that. And log into Clever daily, follow your calendar on Canvas, attend classes, and complete your assignments. Frankly, hopefully you're like, yes, of course, of course, of course. But if any of this comes as a surprise, you can just make yourself a little note. Sorry, back to robot. And they say to remember to participate in all classes, attend all required classes, read and respond to emails, and complete all assessments and assignments. So if you have questions on any of that, please let me know. But now we can officially say we've been over the student expectations. Do you guys have any questions there? Every single one, Caleb. I mean, within reason. If the Nigerian prince comes a-calling, you can ignore that one. It's just, we do have some students who don't always respond to emails very well. We just want to make sure everyone knows that that's a major way we're contacting you. But I have a feeling you're probably the sort of person who's on top of things. And when we say read and respond, no, sometimes they don't require a response. But if you're not sure, respond. Yeah, sometimes they're not respondable. And if that's the case, then obviously that one I would say is not included. But for example, if your teacher says, I need to know who has taken this test, well, that one is respondable. Does that make sense? Okay, awesome. Okay, cool. Well, let's go ahead and start talking about psychology. And today we're going to be looking at how psychology became a legitimate science. It wasn't in the beginning, as we know. We're going to look at the first approaches of psychology and how they were used today. Or are they used today? Or what part of them is still used today, we should say. And then we're going to start with our first approach of neurobiology. And I know I have some neuroscientists in my classes, and how it approaches the treatment of patients. So very exciting. Well, true. If you're a Bones fan, Jasmine, yes, Dr. Brennan would still tell you that there's no psychology is a soft science, but we're not going to listen to her because we love her to death, but what does she know? All right. I guess I forgot to put a picture up here. Sorry, I have a picture. We'll see. Okay, so we have our Class Connect Fab 4, which is now being replaced by our student expectation image, and the vision and the mission. But just to make sure that you guys are familiar. That's right, Caleb. We don't care what. Exactly, Virginia. So we did have some graded work so far. Hopefully everybody is like caught up on this, but you should have completed your pretest. You should have signed up for Edpuzzle and watched how to use Edpuzzle. You should have watched the Edpuzzle video psychological research. I even gave you time in class to do it. Hopefully you got a chance to complete your discussion post this weekend about the little Albert experiment and whether or not it was ethical. If you didn't, please go look at that today. Yeah, I'll be, if I don't get those graded this evening, I will grade them tomorrow morning. And then you should have the lab turned in, which was called that first ticket out the door. I think I changed its name to data analysis because I upset some people with the term ticket out the door. Sorry. And it is a part of it is a grade in there. So it's, make sure you've turned that in too. And if you need any of these links or anything, let me know. Best send me an email so I can send it back to you. Caleb, yes, we did the lab in class. That's where we talked about, we looked at the Milgram experiment, the marshmallow test, and yeah, most of our friends did, but just in case. So hopefully, like this lovely young man, you are working super hard to get this done. Where we killed that lady. Are you talking about the Milgram experiment where they shocked the person in the other room? No one actually died. Okay, good. I was like, whoa, nobody died. That's okay. I'm just over here going, okay, whoa, what class is this? No, it's okay, babe. I gotcha. Yeah, let's not kill any people. How's that sound? Well, let me go ahead and tell you a story. All right, so I'm going to tell you a story, and then I'm going to ask you to tell me, I'm going to ask you to give me an answer in just a moment. Not quite forensics, but I'm going to tell you a story. So when I was a kid, I was about 10 years old. We went to, gosh, I think it was a parade, and we got a whole bunch of candy. You know how they throw candy out. And my parents told us that we weren't allowed to eat the candy. So the next morning, my brother and I got up really early, and my parents weren't awake, and we snuck downstairs. And being that we're kids and don't always make the best choices, we decided to eat the candy. So as we're there, we're sitting behind the couch, like we had a blanket over our head and we're sitting behind the couch. My dad comes downstairs and he's like, hey, what you guys doing? So of course, being slick, because like I said, I'm 10, meaning my brother's like 7, we grab the blanket and pull it down between us, right? So he can't see the candy wrappers. Except the problem is it was those hard candies that have the really crinkly, clear plastic wrappers. So as soon, oh, did I go out again? So as soon as he heard the blanket, he could hear it crinkling and rustling because the blanket crunched on it. Hang on, I think I went out here. Okay. Can you guys hear me? Hi. Okay, so I'm back. Ay, ay, ay. It's the other program I have to use to try to, it's the other program I have to use to try to record, and it's not happy with Jigsaw, and so I'm having fun. Okay, so last thing you heard was when I pulled the blanket down and the candy got all crinkly. What was the last thing you heard? Eat the candy. Okay, back up to there. All right, so we snuck downstairs to eat the candy, and we had a blanket over our head. We were sitting behind the couch, we had a blanket over our heads, okay? And this blanket, it was covering us, but then my dad came downstairs. Well, we had the blanket over our head, and he said, hey, you guys, what you doing? So, of course, being really slick and 10 years old, like I said, my brother's 7, I'm 10, we yanked the blanket down across our laps, right? So he could see our heads, and we thought, oh, he'll never know we had candy. Except the candy had these really crinkly, clear plastic wrappers. And so if you just touched them, they made like a whole bunch of noise. okay? And when we put the blanket down, he could hear the candy wrappers in the blanket. So, not surprisingly, he was a little unhappy with us. And he asked us what we were doing, and we said nothing. And because we lied, we got the punishment of a spanking. Okay? Now, I resolved after that I was never going to spank my kids. Never, never, never going to spank my kids. So fast forward to my oldest daughter being 4, and she has a major problem at class. She is lying constantly to people. She is always lying. She's also taking toys from her friends. And we can't figure out what's going on. We've tried looking into the matter, and it just seems to be an age where she's figured out she's a little bit bigger than other kids, and so she can. And I said to her, I got so mad one day, I said, you know what, if you lie to me again about taking those toys, I'm going to have to spank you. So what does she do? She's 4. She lies, right? Right. So I spanked her. Okay. Now, here's the story, aside from a commentary on my parenting technique. Why do you think I spanked my daughter? Would you say it's because, oh, hold on, there we go. Check mark if you think I inherited it from my parents, meaning I probably wouldn't have done it except my parents did it to me. Or, sorry, red X if you think it's a learned behavior from, I'm sorry, let me try this again. Green check meaning I inherited it from my parents, like genetically inherited. I would do it even if I didn't know who my parents were, it's genetic. Red X if you think it's a learned behavior, meaning I probably never would have done it except my parents spanked me. Yeah, Lauren, yeah, absolutely. So, but why did I go to spanking? Because I said I was never going to spank my child, and then I turned around and changed it. So do you think that I chose to spank my child because it's inherited from my parents, like genetically, it's just a part of me whether I like it or not? Or do you think red X, it's a learned behavior from my parents? Okay. So let's focus a little bit less on a commentary on my parenting. Focus a little more on my reason for doing it itself. Green check because it's inside me, even if I never met my parents. Genetically, I'm predisposed to spanking my child. Red X if you're like, no, that's a learned behavior. She only did it because her parents did it. Yeah, get a few more of my friends in here. Should I call some names to see if I can get some of my friends to give me a poll? Or maybe you think it's showing up and it's not. So that happens too. All right, Andrew, Cheyenne, Sierra, Haley L, John Austin, Kevin, Sabirin, Sarah, and William. What do you think? Green check if you think that I only did this because I inherited it from my parents. It's a genetic thing. Red X if you think the only reason I did it is because it's a learned behavior, meaning I wouldn't have done it if my parents hadn't done it. Yeah, Deja, is spanking in the genes? That's a great question. It's okay. I love that I'm hearing the checks come in and the X's. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You guys are awesome. All right. So let's see what we thought here. Give me just a second. It's slow coming up. All right, so it looks like the majority of my friends are going with the fact that it's a learned behavior, meaning my parents did it, I learned it from them, therefore this is what I did. But I see a few people, couple friends are saying it's genetic, that maybe it is in the genes, as Deja pointed out, spanking could be in the genes. Here's a question though for you. Sorry, hang on, that box is giving me fits. How many of you don't really know what to pick? Or maybe you picked one, but you're not really sure if that was the right one. Yeah, Jasmine, you want to explain something? Or do you want me to give you the mic? Okay. So, Caitlin, you're not going to change on that? So you're definitive it's learned? Okay. Was anybody like, you can give me like a thumbs up or a hand if you're like, I really don't know which one to pick. Or maybe even though you picked one, you really weren't sure. Absolutely, go for it. Okay, I'm sorry. I think we lost Caleb there for a second. Caleb, if you get it refreshed, feel free to try it again. Okay, Jasmine, which FYI would be a learned behavior? Even if I didn't learn it from my parents, if I got it from someone around me, it's a learned behavior. No, it's okay, my friend, I'm sorry. So whether or not I got it from my parents, like you said, if I heard it from someone else and decided it was a good idea, that's still a learned behavior. Inherited would mean it has something to do with my DNA or my genetics. Well, here's the thing. This is a big part of psychology, a great big debate called nature versus nurture. How much of our personalities are we born with, and how much of our personalities do we develop along the way by learning them from other people? And again, it doesn't necessarily have to be parents. So you've got a picture here, and a lot of people get confused because when they think nature, they think the environment, which would be everything around us. But in this class, nature actually means what's inside of you, your DNA, your genetics. Nurture refers to your environment. Okay, so this is tricky, I know, and a lot of people get confused, so make sure you make yourself a note. Nature is behavior that is determined by your inherited genetic structure. For example, why are your eyes brown? Because that's your genetic makeup, right? But some of the things we do in our personality might also come from our genetics. Are you more likely to get angry quickly? Are you more likely to be a calm or patient person? That can have something to do. How many of you have been told that you're just like your parents? You have a trait that's just like one of your parents. No, Jasmine, you have, Haley? Caitlin, you have? Okay. All the time, Tristan? Just like your dad, Ricky? Oh, Nathan, okay. Sure. Is that because you're around them all the time, do you think? Or is that because you got the same DNA they have? Spitting image of your mom. Absolutely, Caleb. Okay, Jasmine, so you look like your parents? Sure. Yeah, that's the question, right, Nathan? I mean, maybe the looks could be more genetic. You might say that, although if your mom wears her hair a certain way and you wear your hair the same way, well, I guess that's nurture. Nurture is the result of learning and experience that comes from outside factors. Anything outside of our bodies is nurture. Our parents, the media, peers, our religion, school, you name it, that's learned behavior, therefore it's nurture. Okay, so this is a big debate, and as we go through, I'm going to ask you to think about where do you put this on the nature versus nurture scale. Is it more nature? Is it more nurture? Is it somewhere in between? I'm out again. Hey, better? Awesome. Okay, so we're going to be thinking about this as we go on. How much is nature and how much is nurture? All right, so let's think about how we approach psychology. The major way of looking at psychology is something we call biopsychosocial, one word, but you can see 3 parts, right? Anybody think they can guess the 3 parts? Okay, good, Madeline. Biology equaling life, sure. Go for it, Caleb. Yeah, biology equaling life, absolutely. Psychology equaling the mind. There you go, Jasmine. Yeah, biology, psychology, and sociology. Yeah, the social equaling society, psychology equaling brain, absolutely. And it is short for psychology, not psycho, just so you know. Very good, yeah, guys. So biology is our behaviors, and who we are is all determined by genetics and physiology. Some people believe that it doesn't matter where you're put, your biology is going to dictate how you behave and who you become. Psychology, our thoughts, our feelings, our past experiences, all of these things are put together to make us who we are. And of course, social, the environment around us, society, religion, media makes us who we are. You don't agree with those, some people? Okay. So this is kind of how it looks when we start talking about the biopsychosocial approach. And the question could be, for example, how much of what makes us masculine or feminine is due to society and social teaching? That would be social. Our biology and built-in brain structural hormones, that's genetics or biology. Our perceptions of ourselves, that could be psychology or individual choices. So I'm just curious, looking at this item here, and I'm going to attempt something, so everybody keep your fingers crossed that this works. I would like to know where you think you fall in this debate. Give me just a second. Let's see if this works. Okay, you guys should now have the ability to annotate the slide. So I'd like for you to get like a marker, or you can tell me in the chat box in the mic, and just tell me in this little box, the genes, individual choices, and environment, where do you think you're going to fall in this debate? How much of our behavior or actions is genetic? How much is individual choice? How much is environment? If you can't use the annotation, still locked? Okay, it should be unlocked. Hang on. Turn off. Okay, you know what? Let's try this. Hang on. Let me try this action. Nope. I can't remember how to do this, you guys. I'm so sorry. Okay, there we go. I think I put it on the whiteboard. Yes. Okay, so we'll do it this way. Sorry, guinea pigs. Thanks for helping me. All right, there you go. I've unlocked the whiteboard. So tell me there, where would you put yourself there? Oh, funny, Jasmine. So you should now have tools. Aha, someone has tools. So we got a friend who's right in the middle. You guys put yourself. Okay, so back and forth between environment and individual choice. Caleb says, okay. I got some friends who are right in between. Some people who go more towards genetics and individual choice. This is awesome, you guys. Thank you. You are once again teaching me how to use my classroom. You know how much I appreciate that. The environment is our biggest factor. Okay, Nathan. So you, oh, sorry, Ricky. Okay, a mix of all three, so you'd be kind of somewhere in the middle. Okay. Yeah. I love you even if my whiteboard's not very nice. All right, so we're kind of falling all over the map, which is interesting because as we go, it'll be interesting to see which approach you kind of gravitate towards and whether or not you still find yourself in this position. So I'm going to go ahead, forgive me, I want to keep moving, so I'm going to go ahead and lock the whiteboard so we can keep going. But it is kind of an interesting thing to figure out where you're going to fit into this. So now we are going to play everybody's favorite game show, Guess That Lie, with our special guest, Psychology's baby daddy, Wilhelm Wundt. So please give Wilhelm Wundt a round of applause so we can welcome him here to play our game. All right, the question is, which of the following statements is a lie about what Wilhelm Wundt did for psychology? So I know it says statements. I have to go change that. I apologize, it's plural, but one of the statements is a lie. So now if you'll give me just a second, I'm going to start a poll. And I'm going to give you the poll so that you can choose the answer you think is correct. That's right. Woo, Wilhelm! So you should now receive a poll option that pops up. And you're going to pick the one that you think is a lie. That means the one that is not true. He did not do that. Oh, sorry, Caitlin. You just get to pick on the poll which one you think he did not do. Demonstrated psychology was a pseudoscience. Might have been my poor typing. I apologize. For that word should be demonstrated. Okay, thank you for telling me. Demonstrated? What did he do? Yes, Caleb. Pseudoscience would equal like a fake science. The word pseudo and science. Good. All right, it's demonstrated. All right. So choose what you think is the lie. Hoping Karina and Andrew and Sierra and John Austin and Joshua and Tiara and Kevin can give me an answer. So which one do you think is a lie? And I apologize if the poll is not being helpful to you. And if it's not and you want to tell me in the chat box, please feel free, because, you know, I know sometimes technology doesn't be nice to us. I'm sorry, Jasmine, you don't see the poll, Karina? Guys, can you tell her, did it just come up for you? Or did you have to click on something? It came up. Okay. If it didn't pop up for you, oh, Caitlin, it just came up. Okay. If it didn't pop up for you, it's okay. Don't panic. We'll talk about it in just a second, okay? All right. So I'm going to give you 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. If you're not able to do the poll as we go through it, you can tell me in the chat box what you would pick. All right. So I should have copied this to demonstrated. Sorry, guys. I'll fix that. All right. So you can tell me in the chat box as we go if it doesn't work out for you here. All right, A, brought the scientific method into psychological research, making it a real science. B, created the first psychology lab at Harvard. C, created the first psychological approach, structuralism, which included introspection. Or D, demonstrated psychology was a pseudoscience. As you can see, I can actually type. And the correct answer is, if you guys can give me a drum roll, because I can't drum roll and click a mouse. Correct answer is D, is the lie. Yay! That's the crowd going wild. A lot of you guys caught that. Very nice, very nice. I know it says demonstrated, sorry. So thanks to using the scientific method, creating a psychology lab, and creating the approach of structuralism, psychology was no longer seen as a pseudo-science. So thanks to Wilhelm Wundt, psychology became a full-fledged science. Yay! Thank you. Yes, yes, dude was so on top of it. All right, so here's what I'm going to ask you to do. It's ready today. I have a psychology lab for you. It's a short little video that's on the lab on the Google Doc. And then there's just a few. And I'm going to see if I can convince it to come up so I can put it in the chat box for you. You should be able to click on it. Oh, sorry. You should be able to click on it here on the link, but who knows? Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So I'm going to give you a few minutes on the clock to watch the video, and then we'll go through the questions. It's a very short video, it's like 2 minutes. So since we're running short on time because we had too much fun in the beginning, I'm going to give you 5 minutes, and then we'll talk about the answers. So let's go ahead and we do what we can, right? Let's go ahead and talk about the questions. The first one, what did Wundt and his colleagues study in structuralism? It doesn't, does it? Yeah. So what did Wundt and his colleagues study in structuralism? What would you say? Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I'm over here like, why aren't they answering my question? Maybe because my microphone turned itself off? Fabulous. All right, let's try question number 1. What did Wundt and his colleagues study in structuralism? Sorry. Perception. Good, Haley. I'm like, why aren't they talking back to me? I knew there had to be something going on. You guys are awesome. Thank you. Yes, Meg. What method did Wundt and Titchener use in structuralism to study people? Introspection. Very good. He had them look inside themselves to understand how they perceived sensations, such as hearing a bowling ball drop. What is the problem with structuralism? I know it says, what are the problems? I have to go fix that question. Boy, if nothing else, I find all the time what I do wrong. Yeah, see, it was too biased. People's perceptions of their own thoughts and feelings are often wrong. In fact, if you read on the OHS, he talks about how people don't realize sometimes how far behind they get with things. And then why is William James' method of study called functionalism? You can give me an A, B, or C if you prefer. B, good, Meg. He wanted to understand the function of behavioral features like jealousy. Like, what is the role of jealousy in our life? What is the role of love? What is the role of anger? He wanted to look at the function. And to what field of study did functionalism lead? Yes, obviously. Totally, right? Led to, good, Charlize. Yes, it led to A. It led to evolutionary psychology. There is some math involved, yes, but it did lead to evolutionary psychology. Yes, yeah. So the thing I want to point out with structuralism, one is that it's too subjective. Like you guys mentioned, it's people sometimes they have differing opinions, or they can even be wrong about when or how they perceive things. And it's really hard to figure out what's called normal. Normal is when we look at what everybody says, we look for the central tendencies or the main thing most people say. But if you can't trust what's going on with your perceptions, you can't figure out what is the central tendency. Oh no, again? Am I back? You can hear me? Okay. Sorry, Madeline. Oh goodness, Virginia, be safe. And then last but not least, so the other thing about structuralism is that today it contributes to the field of Gestalt psychology, which we're going to have fun and talk about. You'll like that very much when we get there. Bye, Victoria. Be safe. And then of course functionalism contributes to evolutionary psychology. And I'm sorry, I meant to tell you this, but William James is actually the guy who created the American Psychology Association. Oh, yes. So try something with me, okay? I want you to find a meme that best represents what the school year has been like so far. And it needs to be a clean meme because I want you to be able to share it in just a moment. Okay? So take a moment and I want you to go looking and I want you to see if you can find a meme. Really look for that meme. Go looking for that meme. I got 3 friends so far. Did anybody notice what I put up on the board? Sorry, Caleb. I don't want to get anybody in trouble. Feel free not to do it. Oh, Nathan caught onto it. Kira, Meg. All right. I had 3 people who saw what I put on the board before I said anything about it, and not everybody caught it. Why do you think it took so long to be able to switch between finding the meme and responding to me? And by the way, yeah, if you can't find a meme, it's okay. I do not want to get anybody in trouble. The point was actually not the meme, believe it or not. You never saw it? The meme is fun? Okay. You had to go to a different browser? Good, Jasmine. You were focused on something else? Virtual high five, Jasmine and Caleb. Deja, I'm really hurt that you don't think my class is fun. No, I'm kidding. It's okay. I totally get it. I'm just teasing you. Okay. Yeah, you got to find the right one, right? You really got to focus. The reason I'm bringing this up is because you had to look inside yourself to think of the reason why it was hard for you to see this and then explain it to me, right? That's introspection. You guys actually you used introspection. Pat yourself on the back. Congratulations. You're awesome. I love you guys too, by the way. Thank you. But what this teaches us is even though structuralism isn't so useful, it does teach us that just like a computer needs a second to switch between browser windows, our brain has to have a second to switch between sensory stimulus. When you're focused on one sensory stimulus, which is finding memes, you're not going to see the other information I put up there because you've got to switch between it. And that's useful when you're driving, for example. You talk about, driving or reaction times. That's kind of what first point out to people. Now, I'm going to give you just a second. If you want to put your image on the whiteboard, you may do so. Yes, Jasmine, good job to you. Anybody want to put theirs up there today? If not, it's okay. While you're doing that, I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next slide, but I will be looking. If it's not, you couldn't find anything, it's okay. I know I moved kind of quick. We took a while in the beginning, and that was my fault too because I got kicked out. All right, so we're going to talk very briefly here today about the neurobiology approach. And if we see the word neuro, what should we think of? And by the way, if it's not letting me paste it up there, I apologize. Ooh, some people said brain, and you would be correct. When you see the word neuro, you need to think about your brain. And in neurobiology, we want to know how it's genetically wired, how it functions, how it affects the way we behave and act. When you couldn't remember the information you wanted to remember, but it happened later, why? What kind of chemicals and hormones are affecting your brain? Yes, neurotypical is a good word for that, Jasmine. If your brain's out of balance, what kind of medication or therapies can be used to rebalance it? There's a real misperception that people who have different issues, it's because they don't take care of their bodies or they don't do this or that. But in reality, sometimes we cannot balance our brain, whether we like it or not, without some type of medication. Okay? So even if we want to, we simply cannot rebalance it. And I think my thing just put something up there. There you go. That's right. Yes, no killing the brain. That's bad. So we're going to take just a second because I know we're running out of time to be neurobiologists. But this gentleman, his name is Jimmy Novak. And Jimmy goes around telling people he's really an angel named Castiel and that he is on Earth to stop demons and other evil creatures. While calling himself Castiel, Jimmy leaves his family and goes on the road hunting these evil creatures. So my neurobiologist friends, what research would we want to do? Remember, we're focused on the brain, our genetics, our hormones, all the processes going on inside our bodies. That's true, we are focused on CAS, but we're thinking about what would we want to do here if he came to us and he was our patient. The guy up there, Cass is his nickname. He calls himself Castiel. You can see here, but his nickname is Cass. So what question would we want to ask about him or what we want to research? Notice here. Okay, Meg, we might want to know how long this has been going on. That's a great point, sure. Okay? But think about this. How can we be neurobiologists? What might we want to examine? Okay, Caitlin, we might want to examine his brain. Meg, do an EEG. Charlize, examine his brain. Okay. His thinking processes. Sure, like what genetically is going on inside of his head. Take a blood panel. Look at his hormones. A CAT scan. Ooh, look at you guys thinking like neurobiologists. That's awesome. So I'm going to skip this slide. I know it's going to take me a second to do it because I can't. Hang on. Ignore Herbie. Well, I'll talk about him next class. All right, so I know we're right at time. Thank you guys so much. I'm going to go ahead and release the PDF of this presentation so that you can, maybe I'll release it or not. We'll see in an hour or two. If I can't give you the PDF now, then when you watch the recording, I will put it up there for you too. Sorry, guys. It's not. Okay, hold on. Go to documents, released. Okay, so if you go down to your whiteboard and there's those 3 lines, they call it the hamburger, one on top of the other, you can pick up the presentation that way. And that is all, my friends. So if you are ready to go, you may head out to your next class. I'm so sorry. Well, don't worry, Jasmine. There's more to come, I promise.